Gabbie Hanna's BuzzFeed article was released recently, and boy did it cause a storm. Everyone whose life she's made a misery online is coming for her. A journalist has also recently exposed Gabbie for being a malignant narcissist. Yikes. So grab the kettle and start boiling that juicy tea. So Gabbie recently had an article written about her by a journalist who literally went to Gabbie's house and interviewed her. The article was next level to say the least. It was titled, "Why is everyone so mad at Gabbie Hanna?" and it delved into her downfall. The article immediately started getting backlash for a number of reasons. Firstly, Gabbie blamed Trisha Paytas in her interview for allegedly ruining her reputation and being the reason why she lost $5 to $10 million in revenue between 2019 and 2020. Imagine you had a friend 6 years ago who, to this day, is contacting your employers, contacting everyone you know, and trying to ruin your reputation, she told me, referring in part to Paytas. "I lost sponsors, I lost a record deal, I lost my friends." Trisha responded to Gabbie's article on Twitter stating, "The fact that BuzzFeed didn't fact check, once again me and Gabbie were never friends. Gabbie has said this herself, and what sponsors did she lose? Gabbie is beyond delusional. I never called any companies. I made a video years ago so she would leave me alone." The scariest part is that the same author of this article came to interview me for an article. I asked her not to connect me to Gabbie in any way. Gabbie is a very dangerous person online. She harasses people to no end. She declined to name the record deal she lost because there wasn't one. Even seeing my name in there triggers me to no end. I can't believe they couldn't fact check the most basic things. Gabbie blames me for people not liking her because she wants to be connected to me in some way so bad. She's a sick individual. I love talking about internet drama, but I refuse to ever talk about her on any other platform because her obsession with me is so scary and out of control. You're not Freddie Mercury, darling. What an to an actual legend. To compare herself shows her delusions. I'm triggered AF right now. I've asked her to leave me alone. I asked the BuzzFeed author to not mention her or me in the same articles. It just puts gas on the flame that is Gabbie's obsession with me. A fan of Trisha had responded, "Gabbie tells people you've heard. Also Gabbie, wow, Trisha is just out to ruin me. She ruined my life, but says I ruined her. She says I'm obsessed with her, but there's videos from years back of her obsessing over me. This woman blames ADHD for her episodes, but there is something even more deeply disturbed inside of her, and she refuses to get help. I'm in shock how Gabbie thinks it's everyone else's fault, that she's a shit person. No, Gabbie, you're a proven liar. You're an obsessive human that doesn't respect boundaries. You spread harmful rumours, and you don't take care of your mental health. Gabbie wants me to keep mentioning her so desperately, and I'm only tweeting this now because shame on BuzzFeed for not fact-checking. I'm deeply worried to be connected to her once again by having my article published by a very non-credible site by the same author." Someone else had said she wanted attention and clicks on her article. Thankfully, Deaf Noodle showed us without clicking it, and we saw enough to see that it's all slander and bullshit. It's sick, and I don't know how else to make this clear. Gabbie does scare me, she's really unwell, and this just condones her obsessive behaviour. I asked her to stop, the author to not mention me. I don't know what else to do. This is how I woke on my birthday morning this year, in stress and desperation. I emailed the BuzzFeed author to plead to not associate me with Gabbie. I had the worst anxiety of my life that night. I'm pleading for BuzzFeed to not ruin my article. I have such a bad taste in my mouth, and I don't want to be associated with this in any way. I cannot trust them. All I'm asking further is to not publish my article. I don't care if it has no mention of Gabbie. I don't want this. The author responded and said to protect my mental health, they would respect my wishes of not being associated with Gabbie, and asked if they could just say I declined to comment. This is a fact check right here. And here we can see a screenshot of that email where the author of the article said, "With me simply saying that you declined to talk about Gabbie in order to protect your mental health." Trisha had then tweeted, "I'm so overwhelmed right now. This is insanity. I tweeted and texted with her before 2017 because she seemed nice. 2017, my boyfriend at the time told me he was scared to date me because Gabbie told him I had herpes. That's when I was like, this girl has issues. I tried to give her peace this year and myself by going on her podcast in which she literally admitted to making stuff up on, keep it in, even though she sent me voice memos admitting what she said never happened. So let me get this straight, BuzzFeed. Gabbie Hanna lost sponsors because she told people I had herpes in 2017, and I made a video addressing that I don't. Make it make sense. My drama with Gabbie is her convincing the internet we are friends, and me asking her to leave me alone. That's it. There's nothing deeper. Her, yes we were friends. Me, no. The only thing she has to talk about is me and other people she's been abused. The catch? We met twice, for a few minutes in 2016 and 2018. Like she said in BuzzFeed, we've been friends for 6 years. Where? She vlogged with anyone she's around for those 6 years. Where am I in this? I apologised if my niceness in texts and DMs were taken for more than what they were on the podcast. Like, what else can I say to that? But her telling me things happened between us when they didn't, and her admitting it in voice memos the next day to me, I just couldn't do it. On her podcast, she also asked if I consider myself friends with Ethan and Hila. At the time in Jan, we didn't hang out a lot because of COVID, so I said we aren't really friends like that, to which Gabbie tried to convince me that yes, I am friends with them. This is all she got. Drama she starts from years ago. This video has footage of her admitting she harassed a minor, Kurt, a few months ago because her delusional mind thought it was an adult harassing her. What's crazy is this is all stuff she did to herself. I can't think of one thing I did to Gabbie. She told people I have heard. I didn't say anything about it for years. She interrogated everyone I hung out with, so I finally made a video to end her harassment, but she's the victim. Someone had tweeted at Skarky, the journalist who wrote the article about Gabbie, and had said, how is it ethical to tell one party that they will respect their wishes to not be associated with another person, and yet do exactly that simply because they are not the subject of that piece? Trisha had responded, and this is why I want my whole article scrapped. I should have done my research on BuzzFeed before agreeing to it. I feel slighted, disrespected, and just overall icky. I really do need to log off. I'm just in shock. I asked someone to not mention me with Gabbie, and they confirmed they would not. This is a trigger. I do need to disengage, and I will, but this is in no shape or form okay. A fan had tweeted Trisha, I don't get why she won't just leave you alone. It's so strange to me that she's constantly trying to get your attention when you want nothing to do with her and never did anything to her, right? This. I was nice to her. I didn't want to hang out in person. I continue being nice even after the thing from a distance. Like, what did I do that was so bad? Not like her. I don't know. With no fact checking, BuzzFeed is officially the lowest form of journalism. I guess it's a gossip column, and I wish I would have known this before talking to them. I'm sorry this is my feed this morning. I literally feel helpless and out of control in situations like this. Instances that never happened, and relationships that didn't exist. And then, most recently, Gabbie got exposed by a journalist for being a malignant narcissist after a journalist analysed Gabbie's interview. I don't know who Gabbie Hanna is. Sorry I don't keep up with the news of millennial white influencers, they are so invariably dull, but this little move here to get compromising information is one of the things malignant narcissists do. And here was a screenshot of the article that said, okay, this is a question for the room, what's your most embarrassing moment? And even though she hadn't met any of us before, including her new publicist, who at no point during the day would allow me to speak to Hanna alone, we answered. One told her about a recent blackout, another about an awkward interaction with a crush. And you? Hanna asked me. The journalist then said, one thing a lot of women really need to watch out for is this technique of false intimacy in women's spaces, where essentially the goal is to have enough compromising information to hold others at emotional point. It's manipulative and you really should stay distant from it. This is unpopular in the US but accepted in Europe. You should share your most personal information with people you can trust. Take note if people dig for your vulnerabilities while ignoring your strengths. They're looking for emotional leverage. Raise the bar for your time. It's especially toxic that this Gabbie Hanna person would do this to two people working with and for her. It's a specific attempt to assert control over them by emphasizing their weakest or more vulnerable moments so she can replace their judgments with her own and control them. It's also worth pointing out why it's better to avoid narcissists. They're not evil all the time. In fact, they are often charming, charismatic, even witty. They can fake interest, but they are fundamentally incapable of love or empathy. They see people as tools to be used. So, note that the narcissist's goal is to basically empty out other people and fill those people with the narcissist's own thoughts to use them. That means breaking people down and them, if necessary, to make them more malleable. Not a fun scene. Pay attention. It is true that narcissists may say they love someone, but what that means in action, always look at their actions, not words, is that the person is useful to them, mostly in raising their self-esteem. They want to seem perfect and will put others down to do it. Also, not everyone with one narcissistic trait is a narcissist. Everyone has one or two. The thing to look for is a multiplicity of those traits, and especially to look for a big gap between their words and actions. Lies, promises they don't back up, false claims of love, etc. For use or people who spend a lot of time on social media, see who is trying to leverage information in DMs. If you can add money and call it black, then it's definitely emotional blackmail. It's a desire to control others. They can be determined, but give them no facts. Saucy, saucy. And here we can see a tweet from Gabbie Hanna that's resurfaced. From 2019, where she'd said, Trisha isn't my friend, to text her out of nowhere and say, is it true you've is very strange, and I didn't care if she said. He told me in person and I responded in person to talk about it with her. Like she said, it's not my biz, it's his. So I said, ask her if you care, don't if you don't. And here we can see a screenshot of a very recent interview that states, imagine you had a friend 6 years ago who to this day is contacting your employers, contacting everyone you know, and trying to ruin your reputation. Rachel Oates also recently responded to Gabbie Hanna's claims that was made in a recent interview. Now, for those who don't remember, Gabbie Hanna went off at Rachel Oates because Rachel Oates criticised Gabbie Hanna's poetry. So yeah, Rachel was also mentioned in Gabbie Hanna's recent interview. Rachel responded to this saying, she thought I was a good enough critic to ask me to review her second book though. And Dog Adolescence was out months before she even asked me that. And if my criticism of her work wasn't constructive, I have no idea what the hell was. And there she goes calling me a bitch again before going on to lie and claim I called her a bitch. Something which has been proven over and over didn't happen. Her fan took a clip out of context and edited to make it seem like the comment I was making about myself was directed at Gabbie, and now she's spreading that misinformation to even more people. She's a mean person, and this is not okay. So, what are your thoughts on this whole drama? Let me know in the comments.